Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. Sarah Towns, and I'm a local church pastor at Church of the Good Shepherd in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then I have an online digital ministry on TikTok and Instagram at disorganized.religion. The local church, we try to have the majority of our events be hybrid so that people can join us from our homebound people can join us, but also people from different parts of the country, either who've moved away or who found us online. So we have a YouTube presence for the local church. And then online, I do a lot of satirical and funny videos, deconstructing bad theology, teaching people about theology in the church, about current events from a progressive Christian perspective. And I was also part of a group that built a progressive Christian movement on TikTok specifically. And that's grown to millions of participants. So it's like this giant church with millions of people and at least 300 active pastors. And we did organize offline in April of 2020. 12 of us got together and we organized on Zoom and said, all right, how are we going to build this platform? Because right now there are only 12 of us that we can find. We created our own hashtag. We really promoted each other. And as a result, now there's a massive community on TikTok that is, and we've spread to different platforms since then. But that's where it started. Yeah, I was probably not the early adopter of technology that some of my peers here were. I was really reluctant even to put transcripts of my sermons online. I didn't like the idea of that much exposure. So, but in the pandemic, the church administrator encouraged me to get on TikTok because she thought it would be fun. But I was making content about service dogs, not about ministry at all. But once I had 1,000 followers, I went live, which is what you can do on TikTok, which once you have 1,000 followers, which is not actually that hard to get. If you start making content, you'll have 1,000 followers pretty fast. And they asked me what I did for a living, and I told them I was a pastor. And then the live stream popped off. Suddenly there were so many more people in there. They had so many questions about Christianity, about the Bible, about faith. And they said, can you do some videos about this? And so I responded to the call from the community. So you talk about going where the people are, right? And in the United Church of Christ, we say there's a call from God, but there's also a call from the community. And so it was all, at first it was mostly young people, mostly teenagers who were like, tell me about God. And so I said, all right, let's do that. And a lot of my early videos are kind of like what you would do with an object lesson or time for all ages or a children's time in church. And people loved it and they wanted more. And so I think also it's important to have that prophetic, honest Christian perspective out in the world. And the reach of TikTok is just massive. And Instagram even more so, I would say. You know, I can reach 1 million people in a month, whereas in the pews, I might reach 200 people in a month, right? That's great. Those are 200 like really important people to me. But you can get so many more people. Yeah, the reach is just massive. And so if we're about sharing the good news, it's a good place to be. So my doctoral focus was digital ministry as decolonial praxis, which is a fancy way of saying, let's deconstruct some of these colonial systems of power within the church and outside the church, and let's use digital ministry as a tool to do that. I did that because folks began asking, all right, how did you do this? Why did you do this? Help me do this. I thought, all right. And then I went to, the head of the doctoral program at the Pacific School of Religion happens to be a member of my congregation. She retired during the pandemic, but she encouraged me to talk to Dr. Lawrence at Pacific School of Religion. And he was so excited about my area of focus. And he said, please come do this work. Other people need to know about it. You need to share it. And so, again, it wasn't just, also we do continuing education in the United Church of Christ anyway. And he said, you've got to do continuing education anyway. You might as well get a degree while you do it. And then you can share this with the wider church. So yeah, if you want to read my doctoral stuff, there are a lot of resources on there about digital ministry. It's disorganizedreligion.fun is the website. So I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I only have so much access to the world from there, right? But in a live stream on TikTok, suddenly I have people in the room who are all of these different faith backgrounds and people from all over the world. And they're all in a room together, challenging each other around issues of faith, life. They're praying for each other. They're participating in each other's healing. That's extraordinary. right? And you do get that on the local level. If you do community organizing, if you really push yourself to be outside of your comfort zone, you can do that. It's just a lot easier online, right? And you have access to 1 million people instead of 2 or 3 at a time. Right? My live streams, it's not like a ton of people come. A big live stream is like 50 people. A lot of times there's 10 or 12 people in the room. But what a great conversation group, right? But you have a pagan, you have a conservative evangelical, you've got a mainline Christian, you have somebody from Japan, somebody from Samoa, somebody from the UK, and they're all having these conversations together, and that is just, it's life-giving to me too. So I should say part of why I'm on doing digital ministry, it's fun for me. I wish I could do more where I connect my church folks to the online folks, because they really are 2 different communities. I did do a series on YouTube called Spilling Tea with Boomers, where I interviewed my church members, and I invited people on TikTok. I live streamed it on TikTok, so I would invite a church member to do an interview conversation with me for an hour, and then the live stream audience got to ask them questions, which was really fun. We did this with the Southwest Conference also a couple of years ago, where I had Southwest Conference staff talk to TikTok fans, which was fantastic. The impact of digital ministry on the church, I mean, I hope that it's part of how we survive or how we're reborn. I think the pandemic really was a big hit to a lot of brick and mortar churches, but it also gave us this opportunity to expand beyond our walls because we had to. I think digital ministry enables us to keep moving in that direction. It's not new. Churches were worried at the invention of the radio because it was going to destroy churches because people would just listen to sermons on the radio. They didn't anticipate people would go to church at the brick and mortar church. Like the majority of people that are online may not, on TikTok, for example, may not go to a brick and mortar church, but a good percentage of them do. It's not like they left the brick and mortar church for the online world. It's like, no, people are going to go to church in the morning and then they'll listen to a sermon on the radio later in the evening. Yeah, I think it'll keep making the gospel more accessible to the next generation that might not have the kind of time or availability that previous generations had.